Okay, welcome back to the channel. This is The Mad Knives, a 5-album, 5-movie sci-fi concept project. And I've come to realize that one of the hardest parts about trying to build this thing is describing to people what it sounds like what type of genre this might be. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Show the logo, hit the music. Today's video is a deep dive, one of our deep dive videos, and we're going to be talking about the musical side of the Mad Knives project, specifically the genre and how I am approaching the sounds for this first album. So let's start in our outline format here with the problem, which is generally a very good place to start. The problem with genre is that it's a little subjective, a little hard to figure out, and the biggest problem I'm having right now is that for me, I am too close to this project. I've been working on these songs for a very long time, and listening to them in headphones and in the studio and in the truck and just sort of everywhere. And as a result, I don't really understand what it is. So the big problem is I'm too close to it. This has been helped because I have sent the demos to a couple of my close friends, and I'm starting to get a little bit of feedback from them about what type of genre the demos sound like, at least. And then the other big problem I'm having is the vocals. So if you've been following along, we're looking for singers right now. That's the big thrust of the project. I need 4 singers, 2 male, 2 female singers. And so as a result, the demos just have my scratch vocals on them right now. And vocals go, at least in my mind, vocals go a long way towards informing what genre the music is. So in the bits of feedback I've been getting from my friends so far, I'm hearing comparisons to indie rock type of stuff. My favorite comparisons so far have been to Spoon and Tame Impala, which are both bands that I think are very cool. And then the other feedback that I've gotten is that it sounds something like Craig Finn, who's the vocalist from The Hold Steady. And The Hold Steady is one of my favorite bands, so that doesn't surprise me. But I'm a little worried that that comparison is because of the scratch vocals. I would like them to be a little more singery. I love the delivery in The Hold Steady, and I think it's powerful, but it's not what I was shooting for, and I think it's just happening because of that's a huge influence in the way that I hear vocals. So the problems, I'm too close to it, and the actual final vocal takes will really say a lot about what the genre is. So the next thing to talk about is the aspects of what's actually going on in the recordings right now. So the biggest one and my favorite one, and I feel a little braggy about it, real drums. So I'm a drummer. I've been playing drums since I was 12 years old or something like that. Went to a little bit of music school for playing the drums, played in lots of different bands. Drums is really the center of all of this, especially for me, even though the project has gotten much bigger than that. So the first thing to note, there are real drums, and the real drums are real full drum takes. Every song is an entire drum take from front to back with no rhythmic adjustments, no sound replacements, no groove edits, no beat detection, none of that stuff. So real drums are the foundation to all of it. There are some additional electronic drum sounds like hand claps and occasionally 808s and stuff like that, but the foundational drum take is real drums from front to back on every song. So the next aspect of this is that it is cinematic in nature, cinematic. And I would also compare it a little bit to musicals, largely because of the structure and because the lyrics that the vocalists are singing are the actual action in the story. So to me, that is one of the defining characteristics of a musical. Sometimes they are singing actual dialogue. So there is a cinematic musical type of bass to it, and I would attribute that to, I think us millennials grew up sort of sneakily loving musicals without realizing it, from lots and lots of Disney stuff. And like when I was a kid, I loved the Newsies. I don't know. There's lots and lots of movies that I watched as a kid that were basically musicals. We just didn't really know it. The next aspect that is important is that there are synth parts happening through a lot of this. It is very synth and keyboard based. On this first album, there are no guitars. I am planning on guitars for the second album. That's a change to talk about later. But for this first one, it is all synth and keyboard based. That is the soul of all the songs. Various types of keyboards, like Rhodes electric pianos. There's some organs happening sometimes, but synth is happening throughout. And then the last little thing I will say that I've said before is that, to me, this is indie rock. But I would like feedback, actually. And the next section of this video is that we are going to play some clips, some song clips. I've picked 5 different clips from 5 different songs, and we're going to go through those now and just sort of briefly introduce each of them and let you know what it is that you're going to hear and what about the sample that you're going to hear is like how it pertains to the album overall. So, quick disclaimer, these are, of course, demo tracks. These are just board mixes, fader mixes. There's still plenty of work to do. So the first one we're going to talk about is from a song called A New World. This one is kind of early in the story as the Romantics struggle to agree on their plan for escaping the Earth. Again, the Romantics are the doctor and the farmer. That's the two of them. And the thing to notice about this clip is that it's showing off some synth sounds that are very common to the album, especially in this sort of open section, and there are some powerful hits included that will clue into how the drums are kind of sounding and a little more of the vibe of the world. So here is a section from a song called A New World. Okay, the next clip we're going to listen to is from a song titled We're on Fire. And again, we're going to listen to the solo section of this one. So we're going to hear more synth sound, a little different. And there is lots of atmosphere in this section that we're going to listen to. So you'll be able to hear a little bit more about the world that I'm building and what things are supposed to sound like. This part of this song in the story, this is when the spaceship, the radio flyer, is actually blasting off from Earth with the Mad Knives on board. So here is a portion of We're on Fire. Next, we're going to do a section from a song called Lost in Outer Space. This in the story is happening after the knives are out in space, but something has gone wrong, and they are now in the midst of a sub-problem within their bigger problem. So we're going to play sort of an intro or a solo section from this one, and this especially is showing off the drum grooves that are really common throughout this album and the overall feel to how most of the songs go by. So here is a part of Lost in Outer Space. The next one is from a song called It Feels Fine Now, and we're going to play another sort of in-between section on this one. And this one is a ballad. Like, if there are a couple songs on the album that are kind of a ballad, this is the most ballad song on the album. So there is a more open sound. There's a lot more atmosphere happening in this one, and you'll get to hear some of the delays that are common throughout the record. This is, story-wise, very deep in the story once everybody has started to sort of lose their minds a little bit. So there should be a feeling of kind of claustrophobic insanity happening on this one. So here we go. Let's play a portion from It Feels Fine Now. Okay, and the last little snippet we're going to play is from the closing song on the album, which is entitled We're Gonna Be the Mad Knives. And I'm going to play you the very beginning of this one, which has like a build-up, and you'll get to hear the drums kick in, which again is showing more of the signature drum grooves that are happening throughout this album. So pay attention to the groove, a little different keyboard vibe. There's a lot of organ in this song. And this is the very last song on the album. Like I said, as far as the story, something is changing. Something happens in the last song that really changes the whole situation. So here we go. We're going to listen to the beginning of this song, which is called We're Gonna Be the Mad Knives. Okay, so those are the clips that I want to share right now. Those are all from the demos, like I said, so they're just rough mixes, something to get an idea of the vibe of where this is going, and especially if you're a singer, that's the idea. That's the sound that we're building on top of. So if you are interested in being a part of this project and you're a singer, that's what this is going to sound like. So the next thing I want to talk about in our little outline here is how these characteristics and these sounds connect to the story itself and why I've chosen them. So the first thing to think about is these synth sounds, which I'm hoping sound a little bit lo-fi, partially by design and partially because I don't have a whole lot of experience with synths, so that was bound to happen. So I'm hoping they're a little bit lo-fi, and the point of all of these keyboard sounds and synth sounds is that the idea is once they're on the spaceship, once they're in the radio flyer, they have sort of a limited selection of instruments at hand, and the idea is that these keyboard sounds are sort of emitting from the communications desk in the radio flyer. So the co-pilot runs the radio section of the spaceship, like where they're transmitting messages and trying to communicate with anybody else who might be out there. And the idea is that these keyboard sounds are kind of like transmissions coming out from the radios on the radio flyer. And the delays that are throughout the record, and will probably be like more and more of them as I get through the production process and keep going with mixing and stuff. The delays are meant to sound like a message, like a transmission from this radio desk in the radio flyer that is sort of like skipping out into space. And then as it repeats out into space, it becomes more and more faint. So the delays are meant to sound like space transmissions. That's the idea behind all of that. And then the other thing worth noting is that there are a lot of delays happening in these sounds, and that's very much on purpose. Like I said, for them to represent sort of messages going out into space and getting weaker the further they get from the ship. But there's no reverbs really, especially in like the last 2/3 of the album, because in the beginning of the story, the first 3 songs, everybody's still on Earth. So there's an atmosphere and there's a possibility that there could be a little bit of reverb happening. But once they get into the spaceship, the radio flyer, and they get launched into outer space, they're in a very claustrophobic, very dead sounding environment inside that spaceship. So delays make sense because they're traveling out into space and repeating and kind of skipping off, but there's no atmosphere in space, and there's nothing to make a reverb. So as things go on, less reverbs, more delays. So these are the parts of the sound design that sort of apply directly to the story and the ideas behind the production, essentially. All right, this is pretty much our whole outline, so I'm going to wrap it up for now and remind everybody that at this stage, we're looking for singers. Just a real quick recap. 2 male singers, 2 female singers. The characters are the pilot, which is like a confident, strong performance, male singer. The co-pilot is a female singer with more of like a carefree, kind of pure sounding vocal performance. The doctor is a very important character. That's a female character with more of a emotionally intense, sort of temper-driven, underlying anger kind of performance. And the last singer that we need is the farmer, a male singer. And this is a more shy, introverted type of character. So a more emotionally heartfelt, maybe ragged type of performance. So if you are a singer and you're interested, please get in touch. DM me here, follow me on Instagram at The Mad Knives, or check out the website, themadknives.com. There will also be other collaborators in the future. Eventually, I'm going to need a mix engineer for all of this and a mastering engineer. And then shortly after that, visual artists to start working on the movie part of this, which I'm hoping to be an animated movie of some kind. And we'll do a lot more talk about the art style for the movies in the future. So for now, like and subscribe so that you don't miss anything. Click all the buttons. I very much appreciate it. I'm trying to crowdsource the talent for this project. So the more these videos get out there and the more people see them, the better time I think I will have finding singers, mix engineers, artists, all the collaborators that I need in the future. So thanks for watching. That's it for now. We'll see y'all next week.